Hello, future biologists. Welcome to an exciting journey into the world of diversity in living organisms. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most intriguing and varied groups of life forms on Earth, Kingdom Protista. These tiny organisms are eukaryotic, mostly unicellular, and encompass everything from algae to protozoa and slime molds. Get ready to explore their fascinating world, from the basics to advanced concepts, as we embark on this four-level learning adventure. Ready to discover the unseen wonders around us? Let's start with the easy basics of Kingdom Protista. Protists are a unique group of living things that don't quite fit into the well-known plant, animal, or fungi kingdoms. What makes them special? Firstly, they are eukaryotic, meaning their cells have a true nucleus and other specialized compartments called organelles, just like our cells. Secondly, most protists are unicellular, meaning they are made up of just one single cell, though some can form simple colonies. You can find them almost anywhere there's water, from a tiny pond to vast oceans, moist soil, or even living inside other organisms. Think of common examples like the amoeba, which can change its shape, or the slipper-shaped paramecium, both of which you might have seen under a microscope. Protists lead incredibly diverse lives, especially in how they find food and move around. We can broadly categorize them into three types. First, plant-like protists, often called algae, are autotrophic. This means they can make their own food through photosynthesis, much like plants do, using sunlight. Euglena is a great example. Second, animal-like protists, known as protozoa, are heterotrophic. They hunt and eat other small organisms or decaying matter. These protozoa show amazing ways to move. Some use pseudopodia, or false feet, like amoeba, while others use tiny hair-like structures called cilia, like paramecium, or long whip-like flagella, also seen in Euglena. Lastly, fungi-like protists, such as slime molds, act as decomposers, absorbing nutrients from decaying organic material, similar to fungi. Now, let's quickly test your understanding with a few questions. First, are protists prokaryotic or eukaryotic? Second, can you name two common examples of protists? And third, how do plant-like protists, or algae, typically get their food? Take a moment to think about these, and remember the key characteristics we just discussed. Let's deepen our understanding. Prepare to explore the more intricate details of the Protista kingdom. Kingdom Protista is often referred to as a catch-all kingdom because it's a home for all eukaryotes that aren't plants, animals, or fungi. A defining feature is that all protists are eukaryotic, meaning their cells possess a true nucleus and other specialized, membrane-bound organelles like mitochondria and the endoplasmic reticulum. While the majority are unicellular, some protists, especially certain types of algae, can form colonies or even simple multicellular structures, although they lack specialized tissues. These organisms are incredibly significant from an evolutionary standpoint, as they are believed to be the ancient ancestors from which all other eukaryotic kingdoms, plants, animals, and fungi, evolved. Their cellular complexity, despite often being single-celled, is quite remarkable. Protists display a fascinating array of nutritional strategies. Many plant-like protists, such as diatoms and euglena, are photosynthetic or autotrophic. They contain chlorophyll and produce their own food using sunlight, making them vital primary producers in aquatic food webs. Then we have the animal-like protists, or protozoa, which are heterotrophic. They obtain food by ingesting other organisms or organic particles, often through a process called phagocytosis, as seen in amoeba. Fungi-like protists, like slime molds, are saprotrophic. They absorb dissolved nutrients from decaying organic matter. Interestingly, some protists, such as euglena, are mixotrophic, meaning they can switch between photosynthesis and heterotrophy depending on the availability of light. This adaptability is key to their survival. movement in protists is just as diverse as their nutrition. Many use specialized structures for locomotion. Amoeba, for instance, moves and feeds using temporary extensions of its cytoplasm called pseudopodia, or false feet. Paramecium, on the other hand, is covered in numerous short, hair-like structures called cilia that beat in coordinated waves, allowing it to swim and also sweep food particles into its oral groove. Some protists, like Euglena and Trypanosoma, use one or a few long, whip-like structures called flagella for propulsion. However, not all protists are motile, some are non-motile and rely on environmental currents or their hosts for dispersal. In terms of structure, most protists have a cell membrane, and some, like certain algae, possess a cell wall, while others, like Paramecium, have a flexible outer layer called a pellicle to maintain their shape. Let's check your grasp of these medium-level concepts. First, why is kingdom Protista sometimes referred to as a catch-all kingdom? Second, describe the different ways protists obtain nutrition, providing an example for each. Third, name 3 distinct structures used by protists for locomotion. Fourth, what is the primary mode of reproduction observed in most protists? And finally, explain what specific cellular features make a protist cell eukaryotic. Ready for a deeper dive? Let's explore the intricate evolutionary and ecological aspects of Protista. Kingdom Protista holds immense evolutionary significance, representing the earliest and most diverse forms of eukaryotic life. They are considered the crucial ancestors from which all other complex eukaryotic kingdoms, plants, animals, and fungi, eventually evolved. A cornerstone of understanding this evolution is the endosymbiotic theory. This theory proposes that early protist ancestors engulfed aerobic bacteria, which then evolved into mitochondria, and later, some also engulfed photosynthetic cyanobacteria, which became chloroplasts. These events were pivotal, marking the origin of complex eukaryotic cells with specialized organelles. Thus, protists serve as a vital link, showcasing the early, evolutionary experimentation that led to the vast diversification of life forms we see on Earth today. Protists are incredibly diverse, classified into major groups based on their characteristics. Plant-like protists, or photosynthetic algae, include dinoflagellates, known for causing red tides, and diatoms, with their unique silica cell walls, which are major oxygen producers. Euglenoids are also plant-like but mixotrophic, having a pellicle and flagellum. Animal-like protists, or protozoans, comprise amoeboids, like amoeba proteus and Entmoeba histolytica causing dysentery, which move by pseudopodia. Flagellates, such as Trypanosoma causing sleeping sickness and Giardia lamblia causing giardiasis, move with flagella. Ciliates, like Paramecium use cilia and have both macro and micronuclei. Lastly, sporozoans, such as Plasmodium which causes malaria, are non-motile parasites with complex life cycles. Fungi-like protists include slime molds, which are decomposers, and water molds like Phytophthora infestans causing potato blight. Protists play critical ecological roles and have significant human impacts. Photosynthetic protists, collectively known as phytoplankton, form the base of nearly all aquatic food chains, supporting marine and freshwater ecosystems. They are also responsible for a substantial portion of global oxygen production, essentially breathing life into our planet. On the decomposition front, slime molds and some protozoa actively recycle nutrients by breaking down dead organic matter. However, many protists are parasitic and cause severe diseases in humans and animals, such as malaria, sleeping sickness, and giardiasis, posing major public health and economic challenges worldwide. Conversely, some protists engage in beneficial symbiotic relationships, like the dinoflagellates called zooxanthellae that live inside corals, providing them with food from photosynthesis, which is vital for coral reef health. Let's test your advanced knowledge. First, explain the evolutionary significance of kingdom Protista and how the endosymbiotic theory relates to it. Second, differentiate between plant-like, animal-like, and fungi-like protists, providing an example for each. Third, name a parasitic protist and the disease it causes. Fourth, describe the crucial ecological role of photosynthetic protists in aquatic environments. Fifth, how do contractile vacuoles specifically help freshwater protists survive? Sixth, compare and contrast the locomotion methods used by amoeba and paramecium. And finally, what are red tides and which group of protists is primarily responsible for causing them? Now, for the ultimate challenge. Let's uncover the most complex and competitive insights into Kingdom Protista. The traditional Kingdom Protista is now largely recognized as polyphyletic meaning its members do not share a single, exclusive common ancestor. It's often viewed as a junk drawer for eukaryotes that couldn't be neatly categorized as plants, animals, or fungi. Modern molecular phylogenetics, which analyzes DNA and RNA sequences, has revolutionized our understanding, leading to a reclassification. Instead of one kingdom, protists are now grouped into several distinct supergroups such as excavata, circlade, archaeplastida, amoebozoa, and opisthokonta. This revised classification better reflects their true evolutionary lineages and diverse origins. It also underscores how similar traits, like flagella or pseudopods, can arise independently through convergent evolution in distantly related groups, showcasing the incredible adaptability of life. Protists exhibit incredibly advanced mechanisms for motility and feeding. Flagella and ciliary movement, for instance, are powered by the conserved axoneme structure, a complex arrangement of 9 pairs of microtubules surrounding a central pair. Movement occurs when dynein motor proteins hydrolyze ATP, causing microtubules to slide past each other, which results in the bending of the flagellum or cilium. The coordinated beating of cilia in paramecium, known as metachronal waves, allows for highly efficient swimming and feeding. Amoeboid movement, conversely, involves dynamic restructuring of the cytoskeleton, primarily driven by actin polymerization at the leading edge and myosin-actin contraction at the trailing edge, coupled with cytoplasmic streaming, which facilitates the extension of pseudopodia star. For feeding, many protists employ phagocytosis where the cell membrane invaginates to engulf food particles, forming a food vacuole star. This vacuole then fuses with lysosomes, which contain digestive enzymes, demonstrating intricate membrane trafficking and enzymatic breakdown within a single cell. Protists display intricate reproductive strategies and life cycles. Beyond simple binary fission, we see multiple fission or schizogony, where a nucleus undergoes repeated divisions before cytoplasmic division, yielding many daughter cells simultaneously, a key feature in the Plasmodium parasite. Ciliates like paramecium engage in conjugation a form of sexual reproduction where two individuals temporarily fuse to exchange micronuclear genetic material, leading to genetic recombination without actual gamete formation. Many algal protists undergo syngamy the fusion of haploid gametes to form a diploid zygote, often involving complex life cycles with an alternation of generations. Under harsh conditions, some protists protect themselves by encystment forming a dormant, resistant cyst for survival and dispersal. Furthermore, the photosynthetic diversity in protists is a testament to multiple endosymbiotic events. Primary endosymbiosis occurred when a heterotrophic eukaryote engulfed a cyanobacterium, leading to the first chloroplasts. Subsequently, secondary and even tertiary endosymbiosis involved a eukaryote engulfing another eukaryotic alga, which itself was a product of a previous endosymbiotic event. These intricate origins explain the vast morphological and biochemical diversity of photosynthetic protists and their varied pigment compositions. Protists have profound ecological impacts and pose significant public health challenges. The fossilized silica frustules of diatoms form diatomaceous earth an economically valuable material used as filters, abrasives, and even natural insecticides. Certain protists serve as crucial bioindicators their presence or absence signaling specific environmental conditions, particularly water quality. Some protists also contribute to bioremediation by degrading pollutants or consuming harmful bacteria in contaminated environments. However, rapid proliferations of certain photosynthetic protists, especially dinoflagellates, can lead to harmful algal blooms, or hubs often called red tides. These blooms produce potent toxins that can devastate marine life and cause severe illness or death in humans who consume contaminated seafood. Among parasitic protists, Plasmodium the malaria parasite, has a complex life cycle involving both human and mosquito hosts, with distinct stages like sporozoites and merozoites. Trypanosoma brucei which causes sleeping sickness, employs a cunning strategy of antigenic variation constantly changing its surface glycoproteins to evade the host immune system, making vaccine development extremely difficult. The eukaryotic nature of these pathogens also complicates drug development, as treatments often carry side effects due to similarities with human host cells. Now, let's tackle some challenging questions. First, explain why kingdom Protista is considered polyphyletic and how modern classification addresses this. Second, describe the molecular mechanism behind flagellar or ciliary movement and amoeboid movement, highlighting the roles of specific proteins involved. Third, compare and contrast conjugation in paramecium with syngamy in algal protists, focusing on the genetic outcomes of each process. Fourth, discuss the economic and environmental significance of diatomaceous earth and harmful algal blooms, providing specific examples for their impact. And fifth, detail the concept of primary, secondary, and tertiary endosymbiosis, explaining how these events contribute to the remarkable diversity of chloroplasts found in different protist groups. Continuing with our most challenging questions. Sixth, outline the complex life cycle of Plasmodium the malaria parasite, in both its human and mosquito hosts, identifying the key stages involved in each. Seventh, explain how Trypanosoma brucei evades the host immune system and discuss the significant challenge this poses for the development of effective drugs or vaccines. Eighth, describe the distinct ways in which protists contribute to the process of bioremediation, providing examples if possible. Ninth, explain the essential role of contractile vacuoles in osmoregulation, particularly for freshwater protists, and elucidate why marine protists generally do not require them. And finally, imagine a newly discovered unicellular eukaryote that lacks a cell wall, possesses a flagellum, and can both photosynthesize and ingest food particles. Into which traditional protist group would it most likely be placed, and what is its specific mode of nutrition called? And that brings us to the end of our in-depth exploration of Kingdom Protista. From tiny pond dwellers to crucial evolutionary links, these diverse organisms truly showcase the wonders of life's complexity. We've journeyed through their basic characteristics, delved into their varied lifestyles, and even uncovered their profound ecological and evolutionary significance. To continue your learning adventure and explore more fascinating topics, visit synapse.omaps.in. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more exciting educational content. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning.